Some weeks ago, I spoke here about the issues that surround communicating in a constructive way with people who hold views that are different from your own. I talked about how people are motivated by tribal connections and how our brains are wired to accept or reject certain ideas because they serve to either reinforce or weaken those interpersonal connections. I also spoke about the power of meditation and Buddhist practice in providing us valuable tools of perception and volition. These tools allow us to be able to respond in a mindful, skillful way when we are in situations where we are confronted with disagreement. Since then, I've discovered several thought-provoking resources that address this very topic in constructive and helpful ways. And I wanted to share a few of these with you this morning. If you're interested, there's a handout giving contact information for some of these resources at the front desk in the lobby. Better Angels is a national citizens movement dedicated to reducing political polarization in the United States. It seeks to accomplish this by bringing liberals and conservatives together to understand each other beyond stereotypes, forming red-blue community alliances. This organization has programs for teaching practical skills for how people can learn to communicate across political differences in helpful, constructive ways. Better Angels makes a strong public argument for the necessity to bring about depolarization of the current political, social environment. This environment currently threatens to rip apart the social fabric of our nation and threatens to destabilize our democratic institutions. This organization trains organizers to design and conduct local area workshops which bring together 7 conservative-leaning participants with 7 progressive-leaning participants for moderated activities and discussions that clarify disagreements, reduce stereotyped thinking, and begin building the relationships needed to find common ground. It costs $10 to join, and it looks like it's in the initial stages of organization, looking to train organizers across the U.S. who will form these conversational workshops. The Listen First Project encourages conversations that prioritize understanding and inspires hope for a stronger society. It is a national partner with the Better Angels organization. Becoming a member of Listen First involves going to the website and taking the Listen First pledge, and then possibly making a voluntary donation to the organization to support its programs. One of the stated goals of Listen First is to mend the frayed fabric of America by bridging divides. The Listen First movement is promoted coast to coast by over 60 organizational members of the Listen First Coalition. This group facilitates and implements local Listen First programs in schools, communities, and workplaces. Listen First also recognizes businesses and political leaders who champion the Listen First movement. It arose following the events in Charlottesville last year that saw neo-Nazis marching and one protester tragically killed. The National Week of Conversation is another partner organization with Better Angels and Listen First. Its stated goal mirrors these other 2 groups by working to bring Americans together to talk it out. Organizations planning events in pursuit of this goal can go to the website and sign up to partner with National Week of Conversation and host affiliated events. Individuals can sign up to participate, both in person and online. This appears to be kind of a clearinghouse for events around the country. There was a National Week of Conversation event which occurred in Johnson County just last month. American Public Square is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. Its stated objectives are to work to change the tone and quality of public discourse. It organizes programs about community, health, education, civics, and faith. At dinners, conversations, and meetings sponsored by American Public Square, panelists with opposing views are brought together to engage with each other and the audience in civil discussion. One of the tenets of American Public Square is to bring together non-like-minded people for civil conversation. They want to recognize those in our community who share this goal, who create a space in which people with varying points of view can work together to benefit Kansas City. This organization has its headquarters on the UMKC campus and was founded in 2013 by Alan Katz, the former ambassador to Portugal and professor at UMKC. At American Public Square events, if the tone of the conversation veers from civility, certain selected audience members are there to ring the civility bell, which reminds everyone to take a deep breath and work together toward real effective solutions to the issues at hand. Meetings also feature live fact checkers during events, who are there to verify the validity of the speaker claims made. Past programs have addressed topics such as community policing, religion and race, and civility in politics. There's typically representation on the program panel from both conservative and progressive points of view. Student memberships are available if you qualify as a student for $10 a year. The regular membership, which admits you to their events, is a bit pricey at $75. I recently was able to attend a free event where Alan Katz spoke that was sponsored by the Johnson County League of Women Voters. Arthur Brooks is an economist and widely published author. He is an opinion writer for the New York Times and has written 12 books. He is currently the president of the American Enterprise Institute, one of the most influential conservative think tanks in America. He is my new hero. Before you think I have gone over to the dark side, know that Arthur is a practicing Roman Catholic who meets regularly with the Dalai Lama and considers His Holiness to be one of his closest friends and a valued teacher. Arthur has spoken about the current social-political situation and has identified some of the same problems that I have been grappling with. He feels that in American society at the present time, we have a situation that is weakening the natural bonds of need between people. He feels that our current political discourse has abandoned the skill of persuasion. Instead, Brooks feels, politics today has substituted a rigid ideology that prevents any kind of compromise, and that both sides are guilty of this. Arthur has said that the problem in political or social conversations today is not simple anger expressed when we respond, I dislike and disagree with your views. Rather, the problem is we have substituted simple anger with contempt, the belief in the utter worthlessness in the ideas of another. He says, if you want a permanent enemy, treat them with contempt. As an example, he points to the universal gesture of showing contempt in the social interchange, the eye roll. He is passionate about the necessity of people from all sides of the political spectrum having to work together to solve this problem of contempt. Arthur is compassionate about needing the people with whom we disagree. He states that unless you believe there should only be one point of view regarding any issue, you should really be grateful for the other side. When you answer contempt with contempt, you show weakness. And when somebody from your side responds with contempt to someone with an opposing view, we should take it personally, because no one is helped by this. He feels that we want to do better, but we just don't know how. Arthur was struggling with this problem and didn't have an answer, so he asked his good friend, the Dalai Lama. His Holiness responded that he practices compassion when he feels contempt. He said, I defeat my enemies when I make them my friends. David Hogg has become a rather well-known media figure of late. He is a senior at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. He may have graduated by now, I think. Yeah. He was present in the school during the recent tragic shooting there and has since been socially and politically active, spearheading marches and other community events in support of sensible gun laws through organizations like Never Again and the March for Our Lives. David has been vilified in the media by conservative sources. He has been labeled as a crisis actor. He's been called an arrogant know-it-all, told that he has no soul, accused of being a Nazi collaborator, and some folks even deny that he was a student at his high school. He was recently mocked by Laura Ingraham on national news when she found out that he'd not been accepted at several colleges. David was recently interviewed on TV about all the rumors, name-calling, and negative media attention coming his way. A commentator asked him, "What do you do when other people bully you like that?" He responded that sometimes he can deflect these comments with humor, especially the more absurd ones. Failing that, he said, the simplest answer that works in diffusing the argument and turning things around is to simply say, "I love you." Wow, I didn't know he was a Buddhist. For those of us with some degree of meditation and Dharma practice under our belts, we have a skill set in entering these political and social conversations, which gives us an advantage and a potentially powerful edge in these situations. I challenge each of you to think about practicing with these tools we have acquired to the benefit of moving the situation in a positive direction. This edge comes from the ability, through meditation, to become aware of how the mind works and how to develop a degree of control over it. Some of you, I hope, are aware of the skandhas, the aggregates. This is the Buddhist model of the mind. Cultivating mindfulness allows us to break down each phase of this model and exert some influence over it, developing the ability to drive it instead of it driving us. So when we hear some comment, it is received by the first and second aggregates, our form and our sense organ of hearing. At this point, it is just a sound that we recognize as speech, nothing else. It is then picked up by the third aggregate, perception, and the mind there attaches a tag to it, positive, negative, or neutral. Then it proceeds up the chain to the fourth aggregate, volition or mental formations. Here, all the stories and all the judgments start. We compare it to other things we've heard, we attach our own prejudices to it, and we compare it to memories of similar comments and a recollection of other responses or similar situations. Then the fifth and last aggregate comes into play, our consciousness. Here, we take offense, we get angry, we get offended, and decide if or how to respond. In an unmindful person, this all takes place in a second or less, traveling right up the chain from the first aggregate to the fifth in an entirely automatized way. If you have developed a degree of mindfulness, however, you can become aware of this stimulus further down the chain, optimally at the third or fourth aggregate, before your consciousness has a chance to get in gear. This can allow you precious time to mindfully consider the incoming comment and decide if or what you want to do in response. This too happens in an instant. Maybe what you do is nothing. Maybe you smile. Maybe you nod your head. Whatever it is, your mindfulness is in control, and you can decide what form your response will take. And if we listen to what the Dalai Lama and the countless sutras tell us, it will be a response driven by kindness. Arthur Brooks says, when you have a bad habit and you better break it, you put something else in its place. And feels that it is a mark of strength to answer contempt with kindness. And isn't this what we do every time we engage in metta practice and send loving kindness to a difficult person? We simply need to put our Dharma practice to work. The challenge is ours.